What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our SEC football channel. We are going to preview the South Carolina Gamecocks roster on NCAA Football 21, which of course is NCAA Football 14, but these are the updated rosters for the upcoming 2020 college football season. Disappointing year for South Carolina last year. We're going to take a look at this roster and see if the pieces are there for them to maybe bounce back and have a big year in 2020. If you'd like to get these rosters, play with them on PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360, they are available. All you have to do is join us on Patreon. There's a link in the description of this video. Click that and you can get all the information there about our Patreon. So if that's something you're interested in doing, please support us, help us get these rosters done faster, and join us on Patreon. Before we get into the roster preview, just wanted to quickly tell you how all of you can help out with these rosters and help us to make them as accurate as possible. If there are number changes for players, if there are incorrect years that you see on this roster, please let us know. Some of these rosters we started doing back before even the spring rosters had been released, so some of the freshmen didn't have numbers yet, and we're just going to go back and do those later. Or maybe some players changed their numbers. Maybe a guy got redshirted last year and we missed that, and we've got him as a senior and actually they're a redshirt junior or something along those lines. So if you see any of that, you can help us out there. Also, players that are no longer on the roster, maybe players that transferred that we had not taken off yet, you can remind us of those players, which of course I'm always checking the transfer portal. I'll come back and get that anyways, but it would just help out if something is put out there for us to make sure we don't miss it. A player that maybe has transferred, or a player that is not really expected to play much, not really on the two deep. If they're an upperclassman, we'll probably take those guys off the rosters and just tell us who you think they should be replaced with. Who do you think should be on this roster that is not? If it's a young player, a freshman, maybe they don't play, but they're still going to stay on the roster because you got to have those young players. The ratings are pretty much set, though. We have a specific formula that we use that's based off of a bunch of different numbers, stats. We use NFL Draft Scout for 40 times. If a player's not on there, we use their recruiting rating. A lot of different things. I'm not going to get into all of that, but those are pretty much set. You can make suggestions if you think a guy should go up or down if you'd like, but they're probably not going to change, at least until the depth charts come out, because at that point we will make some adjustments. We're not going to have a backup running back rated higher than a starting running back. Obviously that would make no sense, so there could be a little bit of adjustments there. Also, when the all-conference, all-American teams are announced, we may tweak some players in those cases as well, but for the most part it's all based off of this formula. Heights and weights, don't worry about that. We will come back and we will get all of those when the fall rosters are released, because those numbers can change anyway, so there's no point in trying to update that and then it changes again. So we'll knock that out once the fall rosters come out. But if you have any help here, if you guys follow your team closer than anyone. If this is your team, you probably know a little bit more about them than I do, and maybe you know some things that I just have missed or whatever. You can help us make these rosters as accurate as possible by giving us this information. I'll be constantly coming back and checking these comments. When I see something that jumps out, I'll make a note, and when I get back on that team, I will make the adjustments. And you will, again, have a chance to get these rosters, even if you don't join us on Patreon. Of course, if you join us on Patreon, you can get these rosters right now. You can get all the updates, and I really would encourage you to do that just to help us kind of speed up this process with a little bit of funding. But if you can't, that's fine. We will probably, more than likely, we're going to release these rosters once they're complete. So it may be August or whatever, but we will give them out for free at some point. And also, you can just help us to make sure our simulations are as accurate as possible as we begin to ramp those up as well. But if you have any information here, please feel free to comment down below and give us any updates that we need to make. Here are the top players for the South Carolina Gamecocks. As you can see here, Israel Mukuamu is the top rated player for the Gamecocks. He's a 91 overall. Remember, I believe he was the one that had the big game against Georgia when they upset them last year. Obviously, that was a while back, so hopefully I'm remembering that correctly. But he's a 91 overall. And then you see Aaron Sterling, 90. They've got some pretty talented players on this defensive line. You're going to see, I think that's going to be an area of strength for them. You've got Shi Smith. I think he's going to be their top receiver this year, and our ratings formula definitely agrees with that. He comes out to be an 89. Ernest Ernest Jones, yes, middle linebacker, 88. Keir Thomas, an 87. They've had a lot of injuries to their defensive line in the last couple of years as well. So maybe some guys that didn't play a lot last year allowed them to build depth. And again, I think that's going to be the strength of maybe this entire team. J.C. Horn at cornerback, an 86. Jamie Robinson, an 86 at free safety. You've got Kingsley Ingbar, an 85. And then in the middle, Zach Pickens, an 85. Of course, he was a very highly touted recruit. And Rick Sandage, 84 at defensive tackle. Those are the top players for South Carolina. Now we're going to go position by position. At quarterback, Ryan Helinski is an 82 overall. You got Colin Hill, the transfer from Colorado State. He is an 80. Luke Dottie is 79, freshman coming in. And right now, Jay Urich, we have him at quarterback, 74 overall. He has played some wide receiver. He is listed as a quarterback on the official roster for South Carolina. I mean, I don't think he really fits that well on the roster for this game because you've got all these other guys. So I don't know what we're going to do. I think we actually gave him wide receiver ratings as well. Yeah, see, his catching is a 78 compared to normally a quarterback's only 40. So you can move him to, I'll go ahead and show you what his rating would be. So he's a 74 overall as a quarterback. If you are a South Carolina fan and you want to play South Carolina and you want to move him to wide receiver, I'll show you what his rating is as a wide receiver. He's actually a 75 as a wide receiver. So not going to be a superstar, but he is someone that you could maybe add to that wide receiver position if you want to, and if that's what he winds up doing in real life. So we kind of made him to where you could do that. Deshaun Fenwick, he's an 80. Kevin Harris, an 80. Lost some depth at running back the last couple of years. We'll see how they look. True freshman Marshawn Lloyd, could he figure into the picture? He's a 79. Zaquandre White is a 73, and then Rashad Amos, a 68. Those wide receivers, you see, if you put Urich in there, he would be about your 5th best wide receiver, so it's an option. But Shi Smith is the guy, in my opinion, 89. And then you've got Josh Vann, 82. Then it's a little bit of a drop-off. Or Trey Smith, 77. DeCarron Joyner, who was a quarterback. Now he is a 76 overall wide receiver. Rico Powers, 75. Wyman, a 74. Caldwell, 71. Terrell, a 71. And Davis, a 71. Tight end spot, Nick Muse, 77. They got a lot of tight ends, and it was very complicated trying to figure out who to put on this roster and who were going to be their top guys at tight end. That was one of the biggest challenges that I've had for any team, because there was just not a lot of information out there, and there are a lot of tight ends again on this roster. So if this is the 5 you would go with, let me know. If you change it up, let me know. But Nick Muse is 77, Kevion Mullins is 75. I believe he was a wide receiver, transferred over. Not sure how much he'll play, but I think he would be a big weapon in the passing game for them at that tight end spot. Eric Shaw, 73. Keyshawn Toney, 69. And Chandler Farrell, 66. Offensive line now, Hutchinson, an 82. Ja'Kai Moore, 71. Left guard, there's Jordan Rhodes, 77. And Tyshawn Wanamaker, 72. Hank Matos, 79. Overall at center, Trey Jones, 71. And Vincent Murphy, a 70. Right guard, Jovan Gwynn, a 78, and Eric Douglas, a 69. Right tackle, Dylan Wanham, an 82. Jalen Nichols, a 74. Okay, now to the defensive side of the ball. We start with this defensive line, which again I think is the strength of this team. Eningbar is an 85. Then you've got Brad Johnson. He's 79 overall. Fitton, 71. Johnson, a 69. Other side, Sterling, a 90 overall. Very talented player. You got Joseph Anderson, a 76, and Devontae Davis, a 70. This is where, I mean, if you want to really get specific, it's the interior of the defensive line. How about this? 4 guys on this roster, all rated 83 or higher. That is impressive. Thomas is an 87. Zach Pickens might be the most talented player on this roster. We'll see how it plays out, but based off of what he did last year, he does come out to be an 85. Sandage, an 84. And then you got Jordan Burch, the freshman, coming in. He's going to play. And this is one of the top players in the country. He's an 83. Hemingway, 73. And Ellis, a 70. So, yeah, South Carolina maybe doesn't have the best roster in the SEC, but they might have the best interior defensive lineman in the SEC. Sherrod Green, an 81. Jamar Brown, 69. Edmond, 67. Middle linebacker, Ernest Jones, 88. going to have to be the leader for them there at the linebacker spot. Kaba 74, Lewis Jr. 72. And then on the other side, you got Staley an 80, but you can kind of move guys around to fill out your depth chart, and we'll be making adjustments, I'm sure. McWamu again, a 91 overall. J.C. Horn, 86. A couple of good corners on this team. Cam Smith, 71. John Dixon, 71. Hunter, 69. Hill and Rush, also 69. Free safety, Jamie Robinson, 86. Then there's a pretty good drop-off. Fortune is 69. Dickerson, 69. Strong safety, R.J. Roderick, an 83. Sanders, 71. Kicker is an 81, Parker White. And the punter is Christian Kinsley is 70, but the kickers and punters are not complete. Those ratings have not been finalized. I believe I've got my formula figured out, but I'm going to have to go back and do some of these teams. So keep that in mind. But again, you look at this South Carolina roster, and there's some talent there. Defensively, I have a chance to be, with Will Muschamp leading the way, have a chance to be a really good defense. I think the success of this team comes down to Ryan Helinski taking the next step at quarterback. I mean, he showed some signs last year of being a really good quarterback. And they got to get a run game going, something they've struggled a little bit with. If they can do those two things offensively, which is, I guess, your entire offense, throwing the football, running the football. But I think you guys know what I mean. Consistency at the quarterback position, consistency at the running back spot, consistency overall on offense. That's going to be the key, I think, for South Carolina because they've got the talent on defense. And that defense can win us some games like it did against Georgia last season. But if you see anything that's not correct here, let me know down in the comments below. We're going to try to get these rosters as accurate as possible. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports YouTube channel.